It's the chair for
I'll
me.
see you, Shanta.
It's the chair for me. Oh man. Yeah, everybody, no one's in here yet. We can just chop it up for a little bit. So how's everybody's day today?
It was a good day. Busy but good. Good day.
Full for sure.
Yeah.
It was pretty consistent.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's that weather treating you down there, Shanta? Because I know last time it was a whole storm happening in the background. What was going on?
Now it's just ridiculously hot.
Really?
Ridiculously. I'm like,
Okay.
for real, this what we doing?
Listen, I was talking to my Cali peeps earlier today. They were just like, the sun is disrespectful. So I don't know how hot it is in the West right now, but it's pretty intense at this point, it seems. Okay. All right. Well, look, we got a couple people in here. Hey guys, say hi in the chat. Listen, I'm managing the chat. So if you were here last week and you were like, I don't see my comments, she didn't say anything. Listen, there's so much happening in this space because I'm trying to stay focused and also feel what's going on. But please say hello because I want to say hi back to you by name and kick something in the chat, and Shanta will probably holler at you too if she gets the opportunity to see it come through.
Doing what I do.
Yeah, Shanta, probably the best thing is to maybe go on my page.
Okay.
And then just turn the volume down and then just have that.
Like, didn't we have that issue?
Like on my personal page, right? But we should be good. Everybody say hi. Somebody say hi. If you're there, say hi. We're testing some things. We want to make sure it's working before we dive in real quick. So if you are watching, there are 4 of you. Hey, Robin. Hey, girl. I see Robin. Who else? I see it's 4 people. Come on, y'all.
Oh, okay. Hey, Robin.
I ain't trying to call y'all out like that. It's all right.
But that's
yeah, so I only saw it coming through here. So, all right, guys. So, hey, everybody, it's your girl Rajette Speaks with Narrative Shifts, and we are excited to have you here again. This week. So just a quick recap. Last week we had Deodge Hill, wave Deodge, in our first part, who really just had an incredible message of hope and strength and resilience and faith, y'all, for real. And just super excited to have her back for the part 2. So last week, if you're just tuning in, we talked about just what she went through as a survivor to her husband who was killed in the line of duty. He was a Detroit police officer and just an incredible presence in her life and in the community. And she spoke about, what that was like and how she overcame that and spoke about her faith. And it was a beautiful show. So if you did not get the opportunity to check that, go ahead, check it out on this page or the Narrative Shifts page or the YouTube page. If you do check it out on YouTube at some point, or you want to share it with somebody who maybe not on Facebook, then just put Narrative Shifts in the search within YouTube and it'll pop right up, guys. You can share that page, okay? I can't get it to have the Narrative Shifts handle until I get 100 people following. So subscribe, y'all do that. All right. So without further ado, we have got Deodge Hill again in the house, and we have Shanta Hayes. This is a friend to our show. She is our Dr. Phil. So I mean, not quite. I mean, she looked better than Dr. Phil, right? But she's with us. Absolutely, just a wonderful presence. She has her own practice down in Georgia. The 3 of us, went to Michigan. I knew both of these ladies while I was there. I don't think they knew each other at the time, but it's just beautiful how we end up connecting over the years. And so yeah, say hi, guys.
Hello. Good evening.
All right, so we're gonna dive right in. So Deodge, today we're gonna talk about a really, really powerful topic, a sensitive topic that a lot of people sometimes are bound in, or they don't really know what to do once they're in it. And so we're gonna talk about what you experienced. We'll hit some red flags, some challenges, or some things to look out for, and then we'll be able to have some resources on the back end. So both Deodge and Shanta will probably be able to share and chime in on those things. So if you're familiar with the show, everybody, you already know how this goes, but for those who are new, thank you for coming. And just real quick, Narrative Shifts is about reframing and redefining the narratives that go out about us. So we are melanated folks, and sometimes these narratives that go out about us are not in the most positive light. The other thing is that a lot of times we don't know people, or we haven't seen people in certain spaces. And so Narrative Shifts is about giving you a lens into some really unique spaces that we've been in. And of course, we know that about ourselves, but sometimes it looks different when it's like, hey, I really know this person, right? So that's what Narrative Shifts is about. building up our own community, but also providing a glimpse to those who are outside of our community about the things that we do. So thank you guys for being on the show. And Deodge, my first question, well, not even a question. I want you to tell me from the moment that Patrick passed away, Patrick was Deodge's ex-husband, former husband, let me say that, late husband. From that moment to the time you decided to be in a new relationship or start dating, how long was that process for you?
Ooh, it was actually very long because I personally from so I was pretty much traumatized from losing him, right? So my
Mhm.
idea was I didn't really want to be in any type of committed relationship because my thought process was that you could be taken away from me,
Mm,
subconscious. So it was like, I really won't dive into having any committed relationships. I just wasn't interested. And then I was really trying to find myself. I knew that rushing into a relationship was going to
mhm,
fill that quote unquote wife void, but I knew that I needed to learn who I was as a widow. I didn't
mhm,
know who was DIG as a widow because at that point I had been married 12 years, been with him. I think we were 15 years together. So it was like I didn't know who I was outside
mhm.
of a mommy, a widow. I was just trying to learn me. I didn't even know what I liked anymore. Just simple things, when you're in a married relationship, one thing that I know he hated sweet peas or whatever. So I never cooked them. And I was like, well,
Mhm.
I actually like sweet peas. I guess I can cook that now. So those simple things, right? Just learning
Right,
that I can actually come in and watch certain movies because I like this kind of movie and I don't have to compromise what type of movie I want to watch. Just simple things, just learning.
right.
So in that process, it was a lot going on. So aside from just relationship, I didn't even know who I was as a career person because I had been a physician assistant also at that point in time. I had been a PA, worked in the hospitals, and I had taken time off at this point. So I
Mm,
actually took like 2 years off after he passed. I didn't work. Just trying to figure it out. I didn't know. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to work back in the hospital after being with him at the hospital 6 months, twice a day.
mm,
That was a bit much. So I knew I wanted to do something different. So everything in my life definitely shifted after he passed. That's where opening a family practice probably came from because it was like, oh, that's not in a hospital and I don't have to do a hospital politics and all that kind of stuff. So that led to that. It was a lot of little things. I had some really good friends along the way,
mhm,
like guys that actually appreciated that. So I wasn't really looking for intimate relationship. I just kind of steered away from that. It took a minute. And then I guess it kind of got to a point where a lot of people who had already been widowed. So I'm part of the cops association. So I had a lot of widow friends who some had remarried and some had dated. And I listened to a lot of their advice. And one big
mm,
thing is don't focus so much on a relationship and getting involved with people and don't do too much too fast. Because a lot of times you do things out of emotion. So just kind of let things settle.
mm,
So I didn't date right away. I kind of focused on the kids. I think that's where I started focusing on Hill, trying to start a nonprofit. They told me not to rush and do that either because they say, you need purpose when you do stuff like that. So
mm.
it wasn't even until 2015 when I actually started that,
Okay.
the nonprofit. So that was like 2 years after. Because they told me that was safe and I was listening to advice from people. And it was like, it's almost like when I decided to start the dating thing, for real dating and saying, okay, I'll be open to having a boyfriend or something like that. It was after I had started Hill and it was after I had opened the family practice. And
Mm,
it was actually, and I look at everything as being spiritual, right? Meaning that, things happen in alignment with however God needs them to happen. So anyway,
mhm,
I was like, okay, I'm open to that. But we got this family practice open, and I'm a little nervous because I've never done that before. So I kind of question it. Well, God, is this what I'm supposed to do? Am I where you want me to be?
mhm,
And I was still, I actually sat still and waited for God to kind of give me the provision and tell me, okay. And it was like within that week that I prayed and fasted that patients would just come in. And as
mm,
the patients were coming in, it was just like, oh my God, I'm so glad you guys opened this clinic. I haven't cared for my health in this long. I've actually been going to church. I've been reading my Bible. I feel so much better about myself. So I took
mm.
that as God's sign saying, you're doing what I need you to do at this moment. So I guess I don't want to say got comfortable. But I was like, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And it probably was not even maybe a week or two later when I met my abuser.
Okay.
Absolutely. So it was almost like a time where I felt like I'm doing what God wants me to do. And not that it wasn't even it wasn't like I was thirsty and like, oh my God, this is one guy that I'm just going to date. It literally was very slow moving. It was slow moving to me at first, but then it sped up real quick, which sounds goofy, but it was like real slow. And then it was like oh my God, what am I into? I can't get out. Right. So it initially started as I met the guy it was actually on social media, and I don't do social media inbox things I don't do them at all. I usually just don't even entertain it because you have lurkers and crazy people. So I'm just like, not really. But this person wasn't really pursuing me. The way they introduced themselves it was inviting. So it was more like, hey, I see you got a nonprofit. How you doing? It was real simple. It wasn't like you're pretty. I went the text that talk about you being pretty and beautiful. It's a turn off because it's kind of like, okay, I see what you're interested in. But he didn't come that route. He came backwards. He came the other way. It was more like, hey, I got this magazine. I see you got a nonprofit. I live here close to you in Belleville area. It was just like, oh, cool. And he wasn't trying to really hit on me. I didn't get that feeling. And eventually it was more like, can you help me with my magazine? And I kind of looked at his page, and now hindsight 2020, there was a gap in time. And I didn't really question the gap in time. And probably like a couple years maybe in time.
Okay.
I didn't pay attention. And then another thing that was very key is that he was younger than me. He was 10 years younger than me, right? So it's kind of
wow. Okay.
He's younger than me. I really wasn't really thinking about getting in a relationship, honestly. But then he was like, okay, well, let's just go. Maybe we can go out to eat. We probably text back and forth, maybe for a week. I don't know. And eventually, I gave him my number and we were texting. But when we met out, when I tell y'all, it was more like he was such a gentleman. It was so weird. Like he opened every door. He was very respectful. His car was extremely clean. He didn't give you the impression like, oh, something's crazy going on, right? And then even while we were out, I want to say his mom called and everything was yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. I was with my friend, and it was just like when we met out. When I tell you, I want to say his mom called and everything.
Somebody needs to turn their. Okay, got it. All right, go ahead. Yeah, thank you.
I was like something. I was make sure I didn't do it.
You're good.
But anyway, everything was. I was very comfortable, right, with them. It was simple. We walked through the mall after we ate. It was simple. It was nothing major. And then even at the end of that encounter or date, right? Because that was like my real first date for real. I had like gone out with people, but it was more like meet downtown and hang out. But this was a date. I was like, oh, that was really nice. He was a nice guy. But
okay, let me interject something real quick if you don't mind. Okay, so just a couple of things. So just so that I'm hearing you correctly, you were in this season that felt like, okay, everything is lining up really well. And you're like, okay, this must be a sign from God in so many ways. And I mean, I know that the enemy throws up signs too, and you know that, right? But it was just kind of like everything was lining up. And here's this guy. And so he must be part of this amazing plan too. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
At this stage of the game, it was just, he's a good friend, honestly.
Okay.
We didn't even kiss that day or nothing. He literally was respectful. No hug, didn't touch me. I thought like just very appropriate for a young man. The only thing I knew about him was that he had been married before and he had no kids. And I didn't really know much else.
So you didn't have any mutual friends? Like he was kind of the random.
One mutual friend on social media who was somebody that I really trusted. And this is how I got swindled. Because when I saw that he was friends with her, I was like, oh, he must be cool. And I never questioned her to say, ooh, give me some information about him. I hadn't really done the social media thing. Really, it really went over my head. But when I thought, okay, and then when he would post something at the point where we were taking pictures and posting things, when she would comment on it, I thought that was the green light. Like, okay, she must know he's a person, right? Anyway.
Okay.
But things very quickly started to change. So one thing that
well, let's go back to the date. So after the date, you said after the date, and then after I cut you off.
That's okay.
Okay.
Go back to the date. So basically that day kind of ended. It was nothing major, but then it was like we talked. We may have talked, I don't know, a week or two. I don't remember time frame exactly. We only dated a total of 3 months. Let me be clear about that. So within like maybe the first 3 weeks, things started moving a little bit faster. So I didn't really want him around my kids. I didn't want to invite anybody over. I was very skeptical about having somebody at my house, and he was pretty skeptical about somebody being at his house. I didn't know much about him, and it was just little. The first little thing that probably should have been kind of a no-no was that when he asked me to come help him do something. This is when he was like, okay, well, just come over and help me do my website or something. I said, okay, that's fine. When I told him, I said, hey, my kids have activities. I'm going to be over a little later. Then I can't, like, I'm not coming. I has to be like 9 o'clock or something, and I can't stay very long. And he was just like, okay. And that was kind of it. But it was probably 8:30, 8:15, and I got a text. And it said, I guess you found something better to do. And I kind of felt something when I saw that. And it was kind of like, maybe it's not a big deal, you know? And I texted him back right away, like, hey, we can do this another day. But I told you my kids have activities. He's like, no, come over. And the energy that came off when I got there was something different. And that was kind of probably my first real sign, like, something may not be right, you know? And then eventually I think he felt that I felt his energy. And when he kind of, I want to say like I was standing at his door waiting to go in, and he stood in the doorway, and he kind of had this grim look on his face. And I remember feeling like, maybe I messed up something. I don't know. But by the time I was like, well, are you okay? And he softened everything, was like, yeah, just come on in. And at that point I felt like, so I think my energy kind of showed to him. So he made sure to say, oh no, it's just that it's late and I got to get up early and work tomorrow. I said, well, dude, we can do this another day. Anyway, as things progressed, I was getting ready for the P-Hill 5K because I was in April. So this was like March-ish, right? And I actually met him. I know for sure I met him around my anniversary to Patrick too, right? So this was a whole lot of different energies that are happening. So it was like right around the anniversary of me, my wedding anniversary with Patrick, and I'm dealing with that. But then I'm also dealing with 5Ks coming up.
Okay.
And I remember I didn't have a lot of time, but he would call all the time. And I thought that was, at first thought that was a good thing. Like, oh, he's calling. You know, I had a husband who was always busy at work. There was no way he was calling. You know,
so when you say call all the time, define what that looks like.
So call all the time is as soon as you wake up in the morning, soon as you go to lunch, soon as you do anything. I couldn't even, and it wasn't just phone calls, it was FaceTime calls, right? So that's how it started. It was like FaceTime calls. And I can't really give you the exact time frames, but at some point it got to the point where he would, if I didn't answer, I was being accused of going out with somebody else or seeing something. Yeah, and again, that was probably within the first, I don't know, 3 weeks. So by maybe the fourth week, I was always fourth or fifth week of being into this thing with him. I realized that I was a little nervous if I didn't answer the phone because I felt like I kept having to prove to him, like, I'm not doing nothing. Like, I literally am at work or I'm literally here. And then it got to the point where you would take a picture to kind of show him, like, hey, I'm just here with my homegirls. But that's kind of how things kind of started. But it was almost like, oh, he just cares about where I'm at. That's kind of nice. I've never really had that. But it got to a point where I had to tell him, look, dude, I can't FaceTime all day. I'm a businesswoman. I got patients to see, and I can't really do that. And I think that's when things kind of started changing a little bit.
When you set the boundary there?
And I never really set the boundary because I don't know. I can't even explain it because I'm telling you that part, but I'm missing to tell you that we still had good times in between that. So it'll be like, oh, we're going out to eat, you know, oh, I'm going to cook for you today. I mean, okay, we're going to do some stuff with the kids. I'm going to go to your kids' lessons with you. So it was a lot of good things happening, but those things were kind of happening in between. So all of this is compounding. So it's not like every encounter is a stressful encounter. Some encounters was like, oh my God, he's a cool person. He had a good heart. He cared about me. You know, okay, he had all these good ideas about business plans.
Okay.
But then I want to say, so that if that was like the middle of March 18th-ish is when we met. By April 2nd, 3rd-ish, I think that was when the race was. I don't remember the date. It's always the first weekend in April, but this was 2018. But I remembered I got real busy, but I needed him to kind of help me with some boxes or something around the race. We were marking the race mark. Something happened. But I remember, I think that he felt a little uncomfortable because, of course, there was a lot of police officers. And at this time, I didn't know that he was an ex-con on parole. All I knew was this guy just hadn't been married, he'd never been married. And sorry about that.
So hold on, guys. Hold on. We might need to back up a little bit. We went offline for like a hot second.
That's okay.
Did that happen on your end as well?
No.
Okay, so it took me out. So maybe back up, rewind like
That's okay.
15 seconds if you can remember what that was.
Box.
I need him to help me move the 5K, moving boxes, help me with that stuff. And that's pretty much how that it was a little bit more involved the day before, but I won't go into that stuff. But it was a point in time where he had kind of gotten mad at me because he thought that I was dating somebody or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then I was like, well, okay, dude, we not really even that far in. We're friends, and I kind of let it go. Anyway, when I get down to the 5K, there's tons of police officers there because it's in support of my fallen officer husband. And then there's a lot of people who just come to run anyway. So I think at some point he must have felt uncomfortable because by the end of that day is when he told me, hey, I just need you to know that I'm an ex-con, I'm on parole. And it was kind of in my head was like, oh, this is all making sense. Because again, and I didn't tell you this. So when I asked him his profession, he was a truck driver is what he said.
Okay.
I didn't realize he was a garbage truck driver until time had passed a little bit. And I just was like, oh, but that didn't bother me. You drive the truck. I don't know nothing about a garbage truck driver. But when he said ex-con on parole, it was like, oh, you got a out of prison job. Okay, this is it changed the game. And my mindset changed. And it was like a lot of things started to make sense to me. Kind of scary, but then in my mind at that moment was like, well, people change, they serve time. And the story that he gave me to why he was in prison sounded like, okay, somebody lied on you. I don't know. They give you their story. And at that point, he had been very nice. So,
okay, I'm going to interject. I'm going to interrupt them one more time. So, I know what we know about you is this powerful faith construct that you have in your spirituality. So, talk to me about what did you have red flags going off? Was the Holy Spirit just kind of like speaking to you, or were you dismissing it, or what did he have strong faith? Was he presenting as he did? I'm just curious about that point.
Okay. Yep. So that, and I'm glad you brought that up because that is super important. So of course I was praying through that, right? My prayer was, my prayer to God was, is this something I'm supposed to be into or not, and, just kind of show me, guide me. I'm going to kind of be still but still kind of going out with them at that point. And he had a quote unquote faith, right? But then at some point let me know he was Muslim. So that was also kind of like, and then when he said he had been in prison, it clicked again. Like, that's why, the majority of your prisoners, with Black prisoners turn Muslim, that helps them through their thing. I said, okay. And I never really, actually on how the enemy was working was like, oh, okay, well, a Christian can be with a Muslim, and not even thinking about the reality of you can't be unequally yoked, right? Because I am faithful at this point, and I'm still reading my Bible every day. I'm praying every day. None of that stopped. I still was going to church on Sunday. None of that stopped. None of it stopped. It even was a point where he went to church with me, right? So we did. But then I realized it was one day, he didn't quite ride with me to church, but he ended up like showing up a little bit later. And it scared me because it was almost like church was over and I seen him walking up to sit. Like, almost like he must have scoped me out in the church, came and sat with me, trying to make sure I felt like he was trying to make sure I wasn't doing anything. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't cheating in some kind of way. And that was kind of iffy. But he only did that a couple of times. And then it was a point in time also, it's kind of all over the place when I tell you about this stuff, because it doesn't follow a flow. I can't follow a flow with you to get you to,
that's all right.
Okay, this is just how it happened. So it was like, for the church thing, he kind of seemed like he was like, yep, I know about Jesus. Yep, because of course Muslims know scripture. So I know scripture. So it to me, it was like, okay. And I would send him my daily word, like I send everybody else the daily word. And, we would talk about it. And that would be it. So as far as something being like, oh, there was a red flag that you shouldn't have dated, it didn't. The only thing was that you were Muslim, but you were going to church with me. So how are you converting? I don't know. Again, we only dated 3 months. It's not like
Right.
we were
Right.
dating 6 months and he decided to come to church with me. So this was like, okay, well, he's going to church with me. So
Okay.
my church and faith life never stopped. And I think that was very crucial into how I ended up recognizing and getting discernment that it was time to get away.
Mm.
Because I can't give you a black and white, this is the moment. It was just, I know that. So say in that process we were dating, had been together, had been intimate, right? And then it was at some point where within that process it was like, oh, I really don't want it. I was against that, right?
Mm.
And that
Mhm.
became attention. So I knew that was a struggle at first. And I was like, I'm not really feeling that. I'm not trying to do that. And he
Mhm.
wasn't really pressed over that kind of stuff. So it was like, okay, but it had happened, right?
Mhm.
So I just know that it was one time. So the way that my hours are at the office or during that time, I had a half a day on Fridays. I worked the mornings, my partner worked the afternoons. So he didn't want me having the afternoons to myself. So it'd be like, hey, we're going to lunch. Make sure you meet me for lunch. And he's a garbage truck driver, so I
Mm.
can meet him on his route and we can go have lunch and then he can continue his lunch day. But it became like kind of very, it was very like you better come eat lunch with me. You better do this.
Mm.
And I remember the one day I went to eat with him, and it was very odd because when we would go out to eat, no matter where we go, if they had a booth, he would always sit on the same side as me in the booth, right? So he would always kind of block me
Mm.
in, which is, it don't seem like nothing, but someone told their story about a domestic situation, and they said their guy did the same thing. So this
Mm.
man does this, whatever this control thing is, right? So I thought it was cute. He was want to sit on the same side of the booth as me, but I prefer
Mm.
you on the other side. I really, I like to talk and look at your.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, this particular day, my Apple Watch had a ton of things popping up. Pictures always are going across it. And he saw a picture of me and one of my good friends. He's actually a widower, and literally like a blood brother. And he said, "Hey, is that a picture of a dude on your watch?" And I just was like, "Well, yeah."
Mm.
He got up from the same side of the bench with me, went around to the other side, and he looked at me really nasty and he said, "Do you got pictures of guys in your phone?"
Wow.
And I never got a chance to answer y'all. And he said, don't you effing lie to me. I will flip this effing table over on you. And before I could even say anything, he like jammed the table and all the food
Mm.
was on me, right? Something hit me in the head, food was all over me. And all I could think was like, oh my God, this
Wow.
dude is crazy. But I have to tell you that at this point, I don't know the day. I couldn't tell you the week this happened. I can't tell you for sure. But I knew at this point he had already told me, hey, I love you. I got a lot of love for you. I like you. If you ever tried to leave me, I would kill you. He said that
Her?
to me.
Oh wait.
Plain words, right? And it was a passing conversation. It wasn't like we were arguing and fighting. It was really a passive conversation. But in my head was like, I don't know what I've gotten myself into.
Let's pause. So at this point, you said he had already told you that he loved you. Had you reciprocated that
I
emotion?
did. Absolutely.
Were you in love with him?
I can't say in love,
Okay.
right? I was probably in lust. I really liked him. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying?
Mhm.
I loved the way he treated me. I
Okay.
would often tell him things like when we would go out and things would happen, I was always the one saying, well, I love the moment. Let's just stay in
Okay.
the moment. I would always say that. Like, I love this moment. I have no idea what 2 years is going to look like, but I really
Mhm.
enjoyed this day. And I appreciate myself for doing that because in the midst of all the craziness, I enjoyed my good moments with him. I had
Okay.
good times. We had good times. We went to concerts. We went to, within 3 months, I was a person that did stuff that he had never done before. So it was nice.
Mm.
He was like, oh, I never did that. That's fun. Anyway, so it was moments, right? So
Okay.
it's just basically as time kind of progressed, and when that day happened, and he had told me that, I said,
Mm.
I have to play this smart. I
Mm.
this dude, I'm leaving him because at this point, you guys, he knew my work schedule, he knew where I worked, he knew where my kids
Mm.
were, he knew their schedules, and I knew I was dealing with dangers because he had already told me at that point that he was a ex-con on parole. But the
Mm.
crazy in him at that point showed up to me, and I was like, oh, this is
Wow.
going to be something different, right? And that's when my prayers didn't necessarily start being I didn't start having fervent prayer about leaving just yet. It was just like, ooh, I gotta maybe I can try to play it like this ain't gonna work and see if he'll kind of distance himself, and it didn't happen. And he made me follow him after that incident, because I mean, I'm ready to pay the bill and just leave because I'm embarrassed. Nobody really knows what happened.
I was gonna say, did you tell anyone at that point?
Nobody, and the way it happened, if you looked over, you would have just thought that maybe somebody spilled a pop or something, like somebody might have done something. Because it's not like he grabbed me or said anything to me and called me. He didn't disrespect me in any way. It happened. And he got the rage that he had made me concerned, because he got up and said, "Oh man, I'm sorry. And I could tell that the guys at the bar were looking, but I wouldn't give anybody eye contact. I was just like, I gotta get out of here. Right. So, and of course, at that point, I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
I'm a businesswoman. I'm a graduate from Michigan. And, what am I doing in this little pickle right now? And how am I going to get out of this? Right. So he made me follow him, though. And I think at that point, he wanted to make sure that we were good. So I followed him on his route. He asked me, was I going to leave him? And at that point, I was just like, no. I said, but you know what? I said, your anger issues. I said, you got to get some help. That's not normal, you got to do whatever. So at that point, I still had to go back to the office and pick my daughter up to take her to her gymnastics practice. And when I got back, of course, my scrubs had food all over it, right? So when I got to the office, the lady was kind of looking at me, and I looked at them and I said, you know what? I think I'm in a dangerous situation. And I told them that. I said, nothing's going on bad with me and him right now. I said, but I'm not feeling good about this. I said, so if I ever SOS you guys in a text, I need help. And this is all this information, and this is where it is. I'm leaving it here. If y'all ever need it, this is what we got. And I meant it at that point, right? So I kind of knew, but I didn't want to acknowledge it, and I didn't want my kids to feel some kind of way. But I can tell you for sure at this point, I couldn't just leave like everybody tells you to. And it's not just that, oh my God, this guy is crazy and you ain't just walk away. It was like I had a lot of factors to take into consideration. I didn't want my kids to get hurt. I didn't want to get hurt. I didn't want him to get hurt. So it's like, what am I supposed to do? So things kept moving forward. But at this point, he started flipping the script, because at first he was in support of me having a fallen officer and all this. And eventually it was like, I can't stand the police. I can't stand any of that stuff. F the police. And I was like, dude, I don't stand for that. So we would never be something where we could stand for that. And my biggest thing was, at that point was, okay, I'm going to play it cool. God, I need you to guide me. And I literally was on kind of on that set, but I was very scared all the time after that. I was very nervous. I totally out of character, still seeing my patients, still reading my Bible every day, still going to church like I usually do. But I'm telling you, I felt a hold. I felt like something was holding me. I couldn't just walk away. The one thing that was kind of like getting towards the last straw of certain things was he had, the church asked me to do some type of project with them. I was asked, that, hey, can you come do this project with us? Can you do work on this certain ministry? Okay, we need some people. You'll be perfect for it. So I had to stay after church to do it. And I didn't really care about doing it, but he questioned it. What guy do they want to hook you up with? Why do they have you doing that? I already don't see you all week. I mean, he was really mad. Do you know he waited outside that door of where I was doing the ministry at for 2 hours?
Wow.
And was nasty about it. And I think this is when my fear and stuff had really heightened, because it's like, this dude, I'm dealing with something different. Again, still praying through it, still very confused. Another incident again. So I'm trying to build up to my fear so that you guys can kind of feel that. I work out. Working out has been my thing. I always went to the same gym. And then one morning, he left a note on my car. So I work out at 6 a.m. It was a note on my car, and it said, "I love you." And I took it as kind of, oh, that's cute. But then it was like, are you really trying to make sure I'm at the gym at 6 something on me, right? So in my head was like, that's cute. But then another part of me was like, ooh, this is dangerous. So
let's pause for a second. Shanta, anything that's popping up that you want to chime in here with? I just want to make sure.
Yes. So being the woman of faith that you are, and still active in your prayer life and going to church and things like that, and I understand there are a lot of factors at play, especially your kids and not wanting yourself to get hurt, of course, and then he knows where your practice is and all that. But when did you first notice your body speak to you?
It was when I told you the first red flag, and the first red flag should have been my first
That
no no,
night,
and it
the
was that
energy
text
at the
message.
door.
That meeting, but it was even before that. It was that text message when he said, "I guess you found something better to do." I should have been like, "This dude crazy. I'm not
So
about to deal with this. He don't even know me." You know what I'm saying? Why we arguing about that? But again, we weren't really dating. When I tell you the enemy is so strategic and how he does things and the trickery that because I'm telling, because most people that when they found out I went through this with him, immediately thought that he was the first person that I ever talked to. Like, oh my God, you the first guy I talked to you, you just started dating. And it was like, I've turned down so many guys, y'all. Like, no, this is not like I was super thirsty and so like, oh my God, somebody wants to talk to me. He was really downhearted. He's really a nice guy, like whatever that would mean to somebody. And it's like I really wanted to be a voice for people who we don't ever talk about the good parts when you're in these little situations. People tend to talk about the bad ones. So the bad ones didn't necessarily, it was a whole lot of good things that happened in between these major things that was, oh, whoa. It wasn't always, oh, whoa, right?
Okay.
So the reason I mentioned that is because I really want our listeners to hear that these little small things, they're like grains of sand, right?
Yeah.
These grains of sand, they add up. And you think, oh, maybe I just caught them on a bad, but you have to start listening to yourself. And when these grains of sand start piling up and looking like little hills of salt, when do we, activate that, faith? Because, you said you could feel the fear, and then it's, God has not given us a spirit of fear. We want to pray through it, but we have to be careful with praying through things sometimes and not disregarding what we're actually seeing. So,
Yeah, the one thing that the one thing that I was fearful of was definitely him harming me enough to take my life, because at this point he had already told me he'd kill me. So anything that happened after that moment, I kind of would brush it off. And then even in my strong woman head was like, well, maybe I can change him. Not that and I'm telling y'all, I didn't have the idea that I wanted to change him, but in the subconscious was like, well, I'll just keep being the good person I am and he'll come around. I'm telling y'all. So and I'm prayerful of this and then just hopes that if this thing ain't gonna work, he'll dwindle away. Like it'll just kind of go away. But it wasn't. It was getting worse. And it was basically to a point where he had accused me of like dating all these different guys and different guys are looking at me. By this point, it was like, okay, and those are huge red flags for anybody dating. If someone's constantly cheating on them, that's a problem. That's a huge problem because trust is huge and just a friendship or whatever. He didn't trust me. So it was like, okay, I've been more faithful to you than I've been to anybody ever. And I don't even know how to express that to you, but he would accuse me. And that would scare me. So this particular day, and it's such an odd thing, but I had he asked me about like a past relationship, and he would always ask me about things.
Keep going.
He would always ask me things about my past, just weird things about my past. Like it was stuff that I would be like, why would you ask me that? Me and God have handled that, or me and God have dealt through this thing. Why are you asking me that? It would be weird things that nobody would ask. So one in particular thing he asked me was, had I ever been raped, right? And I'm being transparent. So I was honest with him. Like, yeah, this incident happened. And it's like he would use it against me. Like it was almost crazy. Like it would come up in little conversations and little arguments. And it was like a number of things. So this particular guy that he asked me about, it was really weird because what happened was I saw the guy. And when I saw him, it made my heart like, oh, shoot. And he always gave me the impression that, hey, I know everything you're doing. I can see you. I can watch you. I know you up to no good, right? And I want to say, let me give another tidbit. He would sneak up on me a lot, right? And I'm saying that like I could be at my kids' practice, and he'd be on the phone with me. Hey, I'm on my way from work. We're gonna go out to eat soon as you're done with practice with the kid. And I would say, yeah, sure, we can do that, no problem. Okay, I'm gonna call you back when I'm done getting dressed. I'll be on my way to your house or something. And I'm telling y'all, 5 minutes later, I turn around and he'd be standing behind me.
Oh, wow.
But
Wow.
he'd do that a lot. He'd do it a lot, right? It would be times I would be in my bathroom at home. He'd talking, I'm talking, and he'd be like, I'm on my way home, and he'd be walking through my door. He didn't have a key. He didn't have access to mine, nothing. But I'm telling you, he'd walk through my door. So I would be like, okay, this is kind of creepy, but okay. All of those are the little pieces of sand, Shanta, that were building up to Ant, right? So those are all the little things that should have been like, dude, I can't even I can't set boundaries because you done blasted through any type of boundary that I would have had, right? There's no boundary set at that point. But anyway, this particular day, when I ran into the guy, all I could think is that I gotta tell him that I saw him. And don't ask me why that was just on my heart. It's like I gotta tell this guy that I saw him because if he happens to see him at any of these events, it's gonna go down, because he had already told me at that point, if I ever see you talking to a guy, I'm gonna come up and I'm gonna drop both of y'all. That's what he said, right? So I was like, you can't do that. I'm trying to explain to him. I do talk to men sometimes because I do deal with business. I got people that give donations, blah, blah, blah. I'm not dating everybody, right? And I just felt that I had to tell him. It took everything out of me to tell him, hey, I saw this guy today. And I told him, y'all, it was like that energy of standing at the door, not letting me in, came 100-fold. And I was actually at his house. At that point, he was making me stay the night with him every night. I had to stay the night with him every night. He never let me. I couldn't stay at my house. He didn't want to be in my house. Of course, my prayer thing, I think I protected it, but it was like I had to stay with him.
So this him, he wouldn't let you out of the house, or he wouldn't let you stay, these kinds of things. What were you feeling internally? Like, was this still, okay, I need to comply as a safety measure? Was that the catalyst? What was the catalyst?
It wasn't gunpoint holding your head. You got to stay with me. It was the conversation of, you're staying with me tonight, right? And it was well, I dare not say I'm not, because you already told me if I try to do other stuff that you're going to kill me. Okay. And it wasn't that he would give that threat. It would just be, that was just an understood thing, right? It won't necessarily be that they grabbing you by the neck to tell you that. It's just that I understand that this is the space that I'm in with him, and I need to do what he say, because he crazy.
Because you believe them.
That was very psychological. That was a psychological control.
Very psychological. And he had let me know. I know how to control people. I've read the 40 laws of the 40 laws of, you know what I'm talking about. I can't remember the name of it too. Yeah. The book, whatever. And I know how to control you. I can control people. I was like, yeah, whatever. But he had me
started. I'm sorry, Deodge. The control started with the time management, with the checking in.
Absolutely.
Morning, noon, night.
Yes.
Lunch. The passive aggressiveness in the beginning.
Yep.
Those are, the signs. Those are the signs. Not respecting boundaries. Because while you may not have spoken them, you are a woman with a business, 2 nonprofits, children, other family members, and friends. My world does not revolve around one singular person at all.
Absolutely.
That part.
Absolutely.
When you are demanding all of my time, you are trying to control.
Absolutely. And he did. And the biggest thing that he would always let me know was that he just didn't want me to be with nobody else. He needed to secure the fact that I was going to always be with him only, right? So back to this day. So this is the day. I have to just tell you about the day, right? So this particular day, when I told him that, he turned into, that was Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. It was different. He told me, get up. Because at that point I was laying on the bed. He said, get up. And I was like, okay. He was like, I'm not going to deal with a guy trying to talk to my girl, blah, blah, blah. I know where this guy's mama live, where he live. I'm about to go blow him up. And you about to watch this, right? Wow. I think it's like, okay, yeah, whatever. He gonna calm down in 1, 2, 3 seconds and we're good. And he was pacing the floor, putting his clothes on. And I probably hit on, like, I don't know, maybe some sweats and a t-shirt. I don't remember exactly, but when he got moving, I just went moving. And at some point he looked at me, I said, he used all kind of vulgar language. I said, get the F up, B.I.G. Grab me, get off the bed. That was the first time he'd ever put his hands on me, right? And I was like, okay, let me get moving. So I know I had my Apple Watch on. He snatched it. He threw it on the bed. Because he knew what the Apple Watch would do, right? Shows my location and all that. So he threw my Apple Watch on the bed. He took my phone immediately, made me give him the code to get into my phone. And at that point, I just wasn't saying anything. I didn't have any type of demeanor, y'all. Literally, at this point, I was like, this guy, I'm not sure what's about to happen, but let me just abide. Let me comply. So I also have to stop and pause and say that he also always would make a note, like he loved to argue with people and fight because that would set him off and that would get him going. So I already knew I'm not about to argue with him. I'm not. God had already told me, not this one. And I'm gonna tell y'all, I'm not one that don't argue. I like to get my point across, right? Okay. So I wasn't arguing with this one, right? So it got to the point at some point where he made a phone call, and again, I got to back up because it was a girl that would always call him, and in the process of her calling him, I was like, well, who is that? Like, I'm not a jealous girl, y'all. I really don't care. Really didn't care, but it was like the girl had called at night or something, and I was like, oh, who was that? No, I didn't even say that. I said, what does that text say? And he said, oh, it says, hey, good night or something. Y'all know good night, good morning text is from people that care about you. So I'm like, okay, well, whatever. Didn't think twice about it. Then the next day, a good morning text came from the same number or whatever. And I said, what does that text say? He's always say good morning. So then he just felt, well, I'm going to tell you, this girl, she's my girl. She keeps something for me. You know, she keeps my gun for me and some other stuff that I got, some stuff I can get when I get off parole. Whatever, dude, keep her. She can keep your stuff. Right. That's y'all thing. Y'all can have your thing. I really don't care, right? And again, we're very early in this thing. We only been dating. At this point, it hadn't been 3 months. I'm just like, whatever. And I got business and stuff I'll be worried about. I don't care about stuff like that, y'all. Right? It's not my time. Anyway, we fast forward to the day, and he makes the phone call. I'm coming to get my shit. So we know this means the gun, right? I'm coming to get my shit, is what he said. And I knew immediately, like, oh, he about to go get this gun. Okay, he about to go to this friends of mine house and try to kill his family because he done told me this is what we about to do. So these things are playing in my head. So
what's going on with the kids at this point? Where are your children?
I'm at his place. My kids
but they're at home.
All my kids are home. So my oldest, I think at that point, she was 18, 17. I don't know. So my kids were home.
Did she know you were dating him?
She did, and didn't like him. They had actually gotten into it, right? Didn't like him. She didn't like him. My other daughter kind of liked him. My son was just like, oh, this is a cool male figure. He's okay. People was a little scared of him, and I didn't understand why. So we some things later, right? So yeah, just a lot of different dynamics, right?
Sure.
So at this point, my kids are home, and this is late. So it's about 11, 12 o'clock at night. He escorts me out of his apartment, holding my arm. He said, if you effing run, I'll effing kill you. Don't you effing do nothing when we get out of here. Okay. So he grabs my arm, he puts me in his car. And I say, put me in, he walks me to it. Do I scream and fight? I'm not a Lifetime movie person, y'all. I don't know how to do that. I didn't have no special trick tactic. I just know if he run and he catch me, he gonna kill me. Let me figure out how to just comply. So I do. I get in the car with him. And as we're driving from Belleville to Detroit, all I can think is, I'm about to die. Right? Because he starts talking like, well, this night is not about to end good because I'm not going back to prison. And I already told you I don't ever want to see you with nobody else. So this is not about to end good. So I had literally, y'all, I came to grips with death. I was like, okay, well, I'm about to die. And I'm literally in my head, I was like, okay, I guess I'll be seeing my late husband. I guess I'm about to see my mom. I mean, I'm literally coming to and that peace with it. I have peace, honestly. Like, okay, God, this is my story. This is really what have my story be. And I'm telling y'all, it must have been like a split second. And it was like, my kids. Oh, my kids, they don't have a dad. I can't give up like that, right? So I must tell y'all that I always tell my patients, whether it's my methadone patients, my medical patients, my biggest thing is, and I'm spiritual, I always tell, get your favorite scripture, your favorite prayer, hold on to it. And in your times of need, grab it. And just stand firm on it, because in those moments, God will guide you through it, right? Because at that point, you're pulling God, like, God, I need you. And God don't let you down. And you pulling them, he like, I got you. So I said, oh my God, I don't have nothing, right? Yeah, literally, I'm not thinking about a scripture. I literally am, I feel like I'm pulling spaghetti noodles. I was like, I need something solid to hold on to. Because as I'm thinking this, he's going off. He going ham on me, y'all, just talking, talking. And I'm saying to him, well, you're overreacting. Nothing happened. I think you're really overreacting. He not trying to hear me. No, no, you're gonna watch this. I'm about to hurt this guy, whatever, right?
Wow.
What is my favorite scripture? No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Y'all, I am in my head, right? Isaiah 54:17. God, I need you. Get me home safe to my kids right now, right? I'm praying. I'm like Psalm 91 over my life. I can't remember the words, Lord, but I know you know I believe in you. I know you're going to get me, right? And I said, God, just get me home safe. If you get me home safe, I know what nothing but you, because this guy is about to kill me. And I knew it, right? So we're driving, and again, y'all, this thing is going on. So the whole time of everything I'm telling you, I'm praying in my head over and over again, right? No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Just don't let him do nothing to debilitate me. Let me be able to walk away with this so I can take care of my kids and do your work. Right? We pull up to a house, he backs in, he gets out the car, runs up to the house. And of course, my mind is like, well, maybe you can get out and run, right? And then this guy was like, no, I felt be still, right? Don't round him up. You don't know where you at. You don't have nothing on you. And I don't know. Right. I ain't had no watch. I ain't had nothing. If he catch me, it's over, right? So he like jumps down off the porch to look in the car, I guess, to see if I had left. And I didn't. I was still sitting there. So he went back up to the house, came back, and I saw the silver gun in his hand. He got in the car with the gun. And all I could think was like, okay, and I'm praying. I can't even tell y'all the extent of what I was feeling, why, how, but he pulled up from this house and we probably just was on the street. And at some point he started punching me in the face, right? And all I could think was like, and I've never been in a domestic situation, so I've never been hit. My daddy hit me, you know what I mean? So I had never been hit before like that. So I was just like, oh my gosh. And I put my hand up, and I think initially when the first blows, he chipped my tooth, and my tooth is still chipped to this day. I was like, dude, you chipped my tooth. What are you doing? Like, stop doing this to me. And he just was going. He told me how bad I was to him, and all these other things. And he grabbed the gun and he put it to my head. And all I could think in that moment, I remember I'm in the passenger seat, so I remember kind of putting my hand up, and I'm looking out the window, and I said, my brain's about to get splattered all over this window. Oh my gosh, right? And I'm praying. I'm still praying to God. He takes the gun down and he says something else, and he's looking for something in my phone. I don't think he ever found what he was looking for, because I don't talk to nobody. I wasn't doing anything. Whatever he was looking for, he didn't find it. But anyway, something happened where he punched me again and he spit in my face twice, right? He was really trying to make me
like rise.
And I kept praying through it, and I kept saying, stop doing this to me. And I kept telling him how much I loved him. I love you. My kids love you. He was like, I guess somebody in your family going to have to take care of your kids, because, you're not going to be able to take care of your kid. And he was saying all this, and all I could think about was, at this point, he had been beating me for about a half hour. I don't know time frames, but I'm just thinking in my head, I can take the punch, God. I can take the punch. Don't let him shoot me. Don't let him shoot me. Please don't let him shoot me, right? So he pulls off. And we go down this other street. And when we get to this other street, it's dark. So I'm like, oh my God, he really about to kill me now. Okay, it's over, right? Down this other street, y'all, he's still saying the same things. I don't think he was hitting me anymore, but at this point, I'm still praying, and I'm telling him, I said, I care a lot about you. I'm not going to tell nobody about this, but you got to get help, and I love you. And at some point, y'all, that energy left the car. It was gone. And he looks at me and flicks the light on and says, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Look at your face. I think I overreacted. Let me take this gun back.
Wow.
So I was like, I did like this, like, okay, I'm alive. Okay, my face, I felt like a Mack truck hit me, right? I was in so much pain. But I was like, okay. So once he took the gun back, got back to the house, took the gun back, and we drive back to Belleville. He's going through my phone slowly, still going through my phone. And all I could think is, okay, you need me to be a domestic violence voice, God. Okay, but what do you need me to say? Because I don't even know why and how I'll survive that. So whatever that is, my faith is totally heightened to the 100th degree, because I know I wouldn't survive this, right? And the way things went down, I probably can guarantee I was not the first person that happened to. But right, I was like, okay. Anyway, you fast forward, we get back to his place. some things happened there. He didn't really physically hurt me anymore, but he didn't want me to leave. It was like you could tell, okay, you got these bruises on you. Don't go tell on me. You an ex-con on parole and you think I'm a tip, but all I could think was I can't stay here. I gotta go to the office. I gotta go do some things. My kids gotta get to school. That was a Wednesday night, so I knew Thursday had to get busy. And what ended up happening was he wanted to go with me to get the kids. I was like, oh, I just can't break away from him. You know, you saying something, Shanta?
No, I'm sorry. I was breathing. I was shook in that moment.
Okay. That's okay. So when I get back home, I kind of don't want the kids to see me because I mean I'm not purple, but I'm bruised enough to where it don't look good, right? And I didn't want them to know that he did that to me because I didn't know where I stood with him. I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew I couldn't stay in the relationship with him, but it was like I didn't know what to do at this point. But I had to kind of reassure him that no, I'm not leaving you because not only have you told me you'd kill me, you darn near almost killed me. So I know that you have the potential to kill me. So what do I do? So anyway, in that meantime, I ended up going to get in the shower, and he was like, "I'm gonna take the kids to school for you." And it was I know, right? Twofold. Like, oh my God, you're gonna let him take your kids? It was like, yes, because I know he's not going to hurt them.
How did you know that? How did you know that?
I could tell he cared about the kids. I can't explain that to you. He cared about kids. That's all I didn't see him physically hurting a kid. If I had to put a finger on it, I would just say that I knew he would hurt women. He had an issue with women. If that was something with that mother, something with women. I didn't think that he'd hurt my kids, right? So I was like, okay, that saves me. I'm just telling you my mindset in the moment. Hindsight is always 20/20, right? But in the moment, it was like, yes, cool. Take the kids. Let me get in the shower and just kind of. And you gotta just think. I had just had a gun held to my head. He had just beat the crap out of me. I still wasn't even in my head yet. Like I didn't know what to do. I'm like, I still got to get to the office. How I'm gonna cover these bruises up? I don't wear makeup. I don't even know how to wear makeup. What am I supposed to do, right? I go get in the shower, and then all I could think at that point was, oh shoot, I'm stuck by myself with him again. He's got to come back here and get me recovered. So at that point, he wanted to drop me off at work, and I'm just like, no, dude, I'm going to the office. You're not dropping me off. He had called off work, wanted me to call off. I'm like, no, I'm not calling in. I'm going to go see my patients, whatever. So at that moment, y'all, I looked in the mirror. My prayer to God was, I need you to save me. I need you to help me. I said, please get me out of this situation safely. Protect my kids. Don't let him get hurt. And please don't hurt nobody else. Don't let him do that to nobody else. That was my prayer. And I prayed that prayer every morning, right? Because I was just trying to figure out an exit. I didn't know what an exit would look like. So I'm sorry. I don't even know where we're at on time. I'm sorry.
You're fine. Don't worry about the time right now.
So that was the incident. And after the incident, this is where my spiritual side really started kicking in. It was like, I started discerning who he was. I said, oh, this is a demonic attack on me. Oh my gosh, this devil want me out. He's like, you cannot help people. You're not about to be helping nobody. You got people going to church, because I got to remember what happened before. People started talking about they was going to church. They was oh my God, this devil want to go my head on a platter, right? So that's when I started discerning. So I send a daily meditation out. Been doing it since 2013. I send a daily meditation out to about, I don't know, 120 people a day. I've been doing it. And this particular day, y'all, I went in the headset to do my meditation. And I'm telling y'all, I read my Bible every day, but I forgot about it. And it was late that next day. And when it was so late that I was like, oh my God, I didn't meditate. Let me do my meditation and get this message sent out. And I don't even remember what the message was. I read the Bible, sent it out. And I think at this point, I still have to stay the night with him. I was with him. And I sent it out. And somebody responded, oh my gosh, girl, that message was right on time. Thank you so much, right? I said, look at God working in my craziness. He's working, right? But something told me in that moment, tell her. Because I wasn't telling nobody what happened to me. Something said, tell her. And I was like, God, I'm not telling nobody what he did to me. Like, I just, that's all I knew.
Right.
Versus, I probably, and let me say this, if anybody has gone through something like that, oh, you go to the police department right away, please. Like, you just go to the police with the bruises on your face, and you need to go. If you don't even know how to make a police report, you need to file a police report. That's number one. So that was my first problem that I didn't do. However, when I shared with this person that I had been abused, I said, hey, this guy is dangerous. I kind of gave a brief synopsis of what had happened to me the night before, and all this person could do. She was like, hey, we need to fast and pray. And I want to say Memorial Day must have been coming up, right? So she was like, we'll do it after the holiday. I remember that was a Monday coming the next week. And I said, okay, whatever, we'll fast and pray. But at this point, I got my gear up because I'm like, oh, this is a demonic attack. I'm praying. I'm not really trying to fool with him that much, but I'm being around him enough to where he's not going to try to attack me, you know? So I just remember we did she texted me and she said, send me pictures, send me all the pictures, bruises. And I was like, girl, he be all in my phone. Like I can figure out this an iPhone, girl, it stored a picture in the sent message, the other, I gotta do it in a timely manner where I can figure out that I erased it out of the deleted message, the undeleted, all of that. Because if he finds it, that's I'm gonna be dead, right? So I did. I figured it out. I took the pictures. I sent her the pictures, and we started fasting and praying that next week. And she actually sent me. So at this point, y'all, I'm on the mode of I know I have to leave, but I'm not sure how to do it. I'm not sure when and where and how. I know I gotta leave, and I'm still saying my same prayer: "Get me out, God, protect them kids. Please don't let nobody hurt him." Because of course I'm police affiliated. I can call people to help me. Please protect my house and all this stuff. And here's his address. He got liquor in his car. I don't know. I could have done some stuff, but I was like, I really don't want nobody to do nothing to him because I don't want to live with that guilt on me either, right? So it was just a lot. So at that point, we're fasting, we praying, and she sent a sermon, you guys, and it was on spiritual warfare. And when she sent that sermon, it was so powerful that I realized, oh my God, the devil, it's the devil trying to come. Actually, it was like everything that this guy stood for were the principalities that this man was talking about. The sexual immorality, the wanting to have sex with me all the time, he wanted money, just the greed and the money and the bitterness. He was bitter about things in his past. He would just tell me, I'm bitter. Well, dude, you got all these things. It was like, oh my gosh, this is like a huge demon coming through this guy, right? So anyway, on this particular day, I'm nervous about him being around him, but for some reason, since God pulled me through that night, I'm firm on no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Firm on it, right? And praying it every day. But did go to his house this particular day, and he was mad about, I don't know, some ice cream, something goofy. I didn't make it to pick him up on. Girl, it was something crazy. I don't remember. And I had on my no weapon T-shirt, and as soon as he started riling up, something just came about it, and it stopped it, and it was like, oh, cool. Not that a shirt would protect me, but I'm just saying I felt like, okay, I'm covered, right?
Yeah.
So the next day I went over, I'm like, oh my God, I got to get over there and do whatever. And he started getting riled up about something else, right? And at that moment was like, I had that shirt on today. I didn't wear it again. I didn't wear my shirt. Oh my God. Not that I wasn't covered in the blood, right? But it was like, oh my gosh. And he went ham. And it was, I want to say that one of my kids had called and asked me about going somewhere. I don't remember it in particular, but he got offended. It was almost like, well, I'm supposed to take your kids to go do this that day. How they want to do something. And he just went, he just went off. And at this point, it's dark. It's in his room, and he straddled me and he started choking me. And I just was like, okay, he really gonna kill me, right? Because he's a big dude, right? 10 years younger than me, but he's a big dude. He's like 6 feet and he's a big guy. So he had his hand around my neck. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, like, okay, if and when I get out of this, I can't come back. I gotta be out. I gotta get out of this. Right. So at this point, it was kind of like off and on, him choking me. He stopped. Some point the light came on in the room. He did something. He hit me up on the wall with his hand around my neck. I was dangling with him.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he was holding me by my neck. And I just knew not to fight him. Something said when people choking you, if you fight, it makes it worse. So I'm like, I'm going to be still. So eventually he let me go. And I remember just thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to go home. I see you upset. I'm not trying to upset you more. I'm going to go home and we'll talk tomorrow. And he looked at me and he was like, I will effing kill you. And I thought to myself, like, oh, well, the gun's not here, so you're not going to shoot me.
Right.
He said, I will effing butcher you.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, it's in the kitchen. Oh my gosh, please don't let him stab me, right? So I'm tripping at this point. So I literally, y'all, just crawled up back up in the bed and I laid down next to him. And all I could think was, how am I going to get out of this? How do I leave in the morning and just slip out? Go ahead.
So how long after he'd had the gun to you, right? Like, or had the gun, you know?
It was like a 2-week time frame.
Wow.
2 weeks. It was like a week, I would say a week and a half, because it was May 23rd of the initial incident, and the night he choked me was June the 7th.
Okay.
Between June 7th and 8th. I might mix the dates up a little bit here. And it was a Thursday to a Friday. And
in between that time, was there any quote unquote good that happened? Like, I just want to know your mindset during that time. Were you questioning yourself about the whole thing after?
I wasn't questioning. I knew that I had to get out of it.
Okay.
I wasn't sure how, when, where, why. I still cared about him. I mean, I still cared about him, right? I had love for him. I mean, it wasn't.
You weren't justifying his actions.
Yeah, right. You said say that again.
I said, but you weren't justifying his actions.
I did not justify actions. Okay. I was like, it was wrong, right? I knew that was wrong. I never thought, oh my God, I never thought none of that.
Okay.
But on this particular night, he was asleep, and all I could think is, I'm gonna slip out. Let me get out of here before he wakes up, right? Because usually we would get up together in the morning, make the bed, whatever. He would go his way, I would go mine. I'm like, I'm gonna slip out a little bit earlier. And in my mind was like, how do you do it strategically enough to where he's not going to think you're leaving? Because I had gym clothes at his house, because of course I get up in the morning, I go to the gym. So I had gym clothes there. I left that drawer alone. I didn't take any of those things. I left my lotions in the bathroom. I took some things that I wanted, but I made it look as if I was just leaving for the day, you know? And I remember before I left, I just kind of went and touched him, and he like looked at me, and I just said, hey, I just was like, I'm leaving, good night, go back to sleep. And it was just like, he went back to sleep.
Okay.
And I kind of was just kind of seeing if he gonna wake up before I step out the house, right? So I ended up being able to get out the door, and I remember thinking like, okay, he gonna catch me before I get in my car. And the way his apartment was set, I was parked in front of his bedroom window, right? I said, as soon as these lights come on, he gonna come out and get me, right? So as soon as I get the car started, I'm like, oh, okay, he not coming out. And then I back out, pull off, and I said, I'm never going back. I don't know how this is going, but I'm never going back, right? But still was scared. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do it. So before I could even make it home all the way, he ended up texting me. He called me. He said, hey, why did you leave? We didn't have sex this morning or something. And I said, well, I'll see you later. I planned it off, you guys. And I'm really in a scared moment, but I'm like, I'm going to see you later. We're supposed to go out later, right? It's Friday. We're going to have our lunch date. We're going to do what we do. And in that process, it was like, at that point, I had only told 2 people what had happened to me. And they were both prayer warriors of mine. I need them people that they pray hard with me, and we fast and do things together. And at this point, I had connected them.
Okay.
Right? At this point, they were connected. I had them connected as far as pictures, because at this point, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen to me, but I need at least 2 of y'all to know something, right? And I didn't want to tell my kids that stuff. I didn't want them involved in that. So anyway, in that process, that morning, I text one of the girls and said, hey, okay. And I had them connected. I don't know what to do.
Say it again, Deodge.
I was saying, like, so at that moment, I text one of the girls and I said, hey, he did it again last night. Something happened last night. I really got to get out of here. I got to go. And she knew my situation. So the way she texted me back was almost like, hey, me and the other girl were praying for you last night. We actually set up and prayed for you. So during the time of my choking, they were praying, right? Which is got moving, right? And they said, and we came up with an escape plan for you. So this is the things that we need you to do. And I'm like, I can't leave. They like, you got to go. You got to pack up all your clothes, get your kids. I said, I can't do any of that because I got a whole business and still in school. And I'm reasoning with them, you guys.
Did he ever sexually assault you?
He never sexually assaulted me. He just, he requested sex after that incident where he had the gun to my head, right? So was that an assault? No. But did I really want to have sex with him? No. But could I tell him no? Absolutely not. So no, he was never like, oh my God, you're going to give it to me. It was never, we never had that type of an issue.
Okay.
I wouldn't even say that he was very sexual. Like our relationship wasn't strong in that area. That's not something that was strong for us.
I'm sorry. It was just because I was thinking about, we know the power dynamics that are attached to that. And so I was just wondering if that was one more way that was expressed.
No, no. So not in that particular situation, but I have met women where that was a huge thing for them. But that in my situation was not. So in this process, can you hear me?
Yeah, I was saying, so your friends made this escape plan.
They made an escape plan. So I had to adjust it. They had plane tickets and was going to get me somewhere. So okay, I got to take my car, y'all. I got to be able to maneuver. They're not going to get me somewhere and have me stuck, right? Okay. So they're telling me things. And I've never dealt with domestic violence stuff. So I don't know. They like, look, pack your house up. Not pack my house. They said, hey, we know you're going to go to work. Go ahead and play the day out just in case he try to come see you. But, go to she said, pack clothes for your kids for at least a couple of weeks and for yourself. Leave the suitcases on the bed. I'm going to come get the keys to your house. We're going to pack up your car. And we're going to come back and get you. So they had it all together. And there was another person that ended up coming in with them to help them do all of that. Which that was God working. And at this point, it was like, you got to make a police report. And I'm just like, I don't know how to make a police report. I'm just trying to leave. Can't y'all just arrest him on something? I don't know. Like, I don't want to be involved in that. I don't want him to go back to prison because of me, right? I didn't want to have that on my head. But at some point, talked to a good friend who was actually in the academy, had talked to somebody that was a prosecutor or somebody, and they were like, you know what, the choking would definitely make him have to go back to prison. He shouldn't, you can't choke nobody. That would be violation of parole. I said, okay, well, I'll go in and tell that he choked me last night. So I still wasn't telling nobody about this gun to my head kidnapping incident. So I went to the police department after all this. So then what is happening during this morning is that he still has that control thing. So he's calling me every hour. He's calling me all morning. He's FaceTiming me. And at this point, the one friend's telling me I need to leave. And I said, I'm not going to really go. We're going to figure something else out. And she sent me a scripture. And I just have to share, right? So the scripture is Exodus 14:15. And it said, then the Lord said to Moses, why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to get moving, right? So at this point, I had been praying every day. God, give me out safe. I need you to do this. And I heard God saying, get your butt and move. Don't worry about the practice. You worried about stuff that I got to control or not control. I need you to move. So at that point, I did decide, whatever y'all tell me to do, I'm out of here. However y'all help me get out, I'm out.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So, and then it was also in that incident, because he had choked me. My throat hurt. I've never been choked before, you guys. And if you ever have, that's something different. But a lot of choking victims in domestic violence situations don't die until the next day. Why? Because you get all of this soft tissue swelling inside of the neck. So this next day, y'all, I can't breathe really, right? My throat hurts so bad. Like, I literally can't swallow. So I'm like telling him that, like, dude, I can't swallow. And his handprint or something is on me, but I'm so light skinned and funny, fair skinned that you can't really see it. Okay. So when his response to me was, are you all right? He said, you all right? I've been choked to the point where my blood vessels have been popping out my eyes or something. So you okay? And I was like, yeah, I got him. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, he not even remorseful. Had he probably said, I'm sorry, I might have been like, okay, y'all, I'm not going to leave today. He's sorry. Let's not deal with that. And not to say that I wanted to rush over with him. I just didn't want to deal with leaving. Like, oh my God, I got to relocate, right? So I had to gather my kids here. Meaning I had to go to their schools. They had to get my kids out of school. And then I had to go get my son from college, because I didn't know if he was going to try to do something to him. So I'm like, look, we all packing up. We out, right?
Yeah.
So that was my day. My day was escaping I did eventually get away. I want to say when I got to the police department, it was like my last phone call to him, right? Because at first it was I expressed to him how much I loved him. I told him that I cared about him. I said, I forgive you. And that was my last text to him. I said, I forgive you and I love you. I was like, but I'm leaving now. And he thought that meant I was on my way to have lunch with him.
Right.
But I was saying otherwise. I'm out, right? And I stopped answering his calls. I went straight to the police department. I put in my little police report, and I didn't know nothing about a police report. So, I mean, victims, if something has happened to you, write it all down. Get a police report for every day of every incident. Don't let nobody tell you different. Because I go in there, I fill out this police report talking about him choking me, and the officer literally held my thing up and said, "So, do you want us to call him and get his side of the story?" I was like, "No, this guy will kill me. Are you crazy?" So then, y'all, I had to pull the widow card. I'm like, "Look, I'm a fallen officer's widow. I'm not lying. I'm trying to plead my case. I'm not just a black girl coming in here trying to get her boyfriend in trouble. This dude will kill me. Look, he beat me 2 weeks ago and held me at gunpoint. Look, I got pictures, and that's where I had to pull out all this stuff, and then his demeanor changed. And I said, "Do I need to file a separate police report for that?" And he told me, "No, don't. I'll add notes to this. You're good." Failure. He should have gave me another piece of paper, and I should have that down. And I'm saying all that stuff because this guy walked on everything that happened between that gun to my head, the choking, and everything else that he done to me. He walked. At the end of the day, a jury found him not guilty.
Wow.
And at the end of the day, the choking incident got thrown out for technicalities that were dealing with the lawyers. So he walked, literally. He ended up doing 2 years in prison. I think he got out last year. So he did do time. But in the meantime of all of that, I did start I Am With You, which is a nonprofit to help to help domestic violence victims get away. Because in the process of getting away, what happened to me is we get to the destination and we get everybody's bags out the car. And I did not have a bag. They left my bag on the bed. I didn't have no panties. I didn't have no bra. I didn't have nothing. So all I could think in my head was, what about the victims that leave and don't have like nothing? I was like, oh my gosh. And that's where this mindset of having resources to help somebody get away came from, even starting that. But it's been a process, and it's not something that's over. I still deal with it, right? So of course I do see my mental health therapist dealing with that on, incidents that I need to deal with that on. I don't. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like I was lagging. Okay.
I can hear you.
But basically,
can I interject real quick, Deodge? I'm sorry. I laughed because it's funny how our minds work. You are literally running for your life, and then you like, I ain't got no panties, I ain't got no bra. Not, whew, we good. I'm out. I ain't got no panties, I ain't got no bra. I love your heart and how you think of others. I really need us to take care of ourselves, to prioritize ourselves. Like, Walmart was down the street. They got a 6-pack of Hanes, Fruit of the Loom, whatever. But the fact that you are able to be in that moment to say, I don't have panties and a bra. But that's what we do. And that's what I really, to everyone listening, we got to stop looking over the big things and, see the little things. We got to see the little things. They add up to the big thing that's before us. Excuse me. Oof.
One of the things, if I can just kind of add to that, because there's a couple things I just want to add. So to Shanta's point, absolutely. Also, I feel like that's the catalyst, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Deodge. That's the catalyst for why you started the organization, so that there are women who have what they need in these clutch type situations. Is that accurate?
it is. And then it was also bigger because I can't tell you how many. I guess to back up a little bit is I was probably, because I am the strong woman, whatever you call that. I would never have a man putting their hands on me and I wouldn't leave them. Like, oh my gosh, how could a woman stay in something like that? That is doesn't make sense. I don't understand why. it's like God had to almost humble me into, this is why. It's bigger than that. It's not, you can be the strongest person, whatever strong is. You can have the most money, you can have a solid career, and you can get stuck in these pickles. And it's not easy to get out of it. It took forever. And I'm telling you, the night I got away, had I not left Michigan, I would have gotten back with him. I'm telling you that. Very, very charming guy, just charming. I knew not to take a call. I knew not to just don't have no contact with him, because it's not gonna be. He's gonna get me, right. And it was hard. The first night I missed him so much. Like, I missed him because it was, I've seen him every day. This was what had been happening for 3 months. We had just been seeing each other, and even with the good and bad times, I was used to that. Like, I missed him. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I see why women go back. But as I was doing this traveling, I'm reading scripture every day. God is sending me scripture every day, dealing with leaving, dealing with not being in it no more, dealing with God being with me, which is how I came up with I am with you. God is with you every step of the way. You're trying to travel out of it, right? So that's why it's called I am with you. But God, it's so many scriptures that God kept sending me with I am with you. So I started a list of them in my phone. Every time I would hit one, I would highlight it, like, oh, that's another domestic violence. Oh my gosh, that's another one. So I have a whole slew of domestic violence scriptures for people who are struggling, trying to get away by myself. And then I did, in the process of my first 7 days of just trying to break that stronghold, right? I journaled through it, and I journaled through it with the scriptures God gave me. So that's where, I wrote this book. I am with you. It's very, very simple, but it's a 7-day and getaway plan with scripture. Every God gave me day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. And I got tons more scriptures, but I do have this. It's on Amazon. I don't plan to sell this. I really, my goal was to get these books and put them in domestic violence shelters, and just have women that, if this is your first day getting away, I need you to take this book and just read it for a couple of seconds. I just don't want you to go back. Just don't go back, right?
Can you hold it up again so everybody can kind of see it?
It says, I am with you, devotion for victims of domestic violence.
Okay.
And it's on Amazon, I think, but if you need it, just contact me. But it is on Amazon because I had to publish with a publisher or whatever. But it's literally, but it's really a journal. It's for you to journal your process of getting away, and it's just difficult. And I just want it to be a voice bigger than just, I want to give you resources to get away. I want it to also be a voice of, it doesn't look a certain way. A domestic violence victim doesn't look a certain way. They're not just a Black girl or a white girl. They're not rich. They're not poor. This thing just happens to people. And we need people that will be understanding and listen. Just hear me. And if I'm calling to get some advice, don't judge me. Help me. Just help me. And if I just need you to listen to me, just listen to me. If I'm not ready to leave, be right there with me because I'm not ready to leave. Stop judging the process. Because a lot of times people will say, oh, well, she's still with him. No, I need you though. You know what I mean? And I need you to please don't leave me. Please. I'm so glad my friends and my prayer warriors didn't leave me, because they could have easily been like, girl, she's stupid. I can't believe she's still dealing with him. She done sent us all this stuff that she done went through. She's still dealing with it, but it's like, I need you. And it was them absolutely helping me to kind of stay grounded in Christ, right? Hey, these are scriptures. We fasting and praying. I didn't have them put some hot water on them. It's like we fasting and praying. And that's the important thing. Like, see God in it. And I prayed. I was a praying girl. I never stopped praying. I never let that go. You know what I mean? But the devil knows that. And he knew my comfort of reading the Bible every day. How you tricking? You get somebody that'll act like he's reading it with you. Certainly mean he into the Lord, you know what I mean? And he has a different agenda. But I don't regret it. I'm thankful for God getting me through it. When I tell y'all my faith is heightened, a lot of stuff just really don't shake me. I'm just telling you. I immediately go into, God got me because he with me, and I mean, I stand firm on it. It just is. But that situation definitely helped me get to this point of not saying that I'm better than anybody, but unstoppable. Because if God said, then I can do whatever I got to do after that.
That's right. That's good. Yeah. One of the things, and I'm glad you touched on it, that, folks can be in these situations and it's kind of like the New York subway, like everybody rides it, right? Like no one's exempt kind of, from this situation. So I'm really glad that you spoke about that. And one of the things I did jot down from earlier when you were talking, and you just hit on this point, and I just posted this, the don't judge me, help me. And I'm glad Val actually repeated that so I could post it up here. It was so important that you told someone, because that's the thing, what I know about this, and Shanta can speak to this a little bit more, is that abusers tend to try to isolate you from everything.
Yep.
And the fact that you were able, right, you had capacity, and when I say able, you had capacity to share with those two friends of yours. It took a minute, right, but you eventually were able to do that. That is huge. And so, as Diagi said, guys, for our listeners there, if we are in the place where we need to be a support to our friend that might be in a situation like this, by all means, we cannot have the lens of judgment. I mean, there were moments even in this conversation, and this has happened already, right? And there were moments where you said certain things, and I was like, wait, what? And that's just because that's my organic reaction, right? And it's not me coming from a true place of I'm being judgy, but because we are used to certain narratives, right? We are used to certain types of people not enduring something like that, right? And so for like internally, I had this moment. I was like, wait, no, Rajette, like you need to keep listening. Like don't be judgy here, even in your thinking. And so it's very important that, if we are in fact that support that's called on, that we're listening first, and that we can be whatever it is that um that y'all need. You know what I mean? And then, I mean, this is such a powerful conversation. I'm sitting here. Obviously, I knew bits and pieces. I did not know this much depth, and I'm pretty blown away. I did a little bit of work in high school, and I don't see anybody from a high school on here tonight, but where we did an entire symposium, and we did months of research on domestic violence and date and acquaintance rape. This was in 1990, I think 6 or 7. And we were trailblazing in the state in terms of our service learning projects. We went to DC for this as well, to really just kind of highlight this issue. So it's always been very close to my heart, because we were working with Safe House in high school, like in Ann Arbor. Like we were doing quite a bit of work to really just be advocates, young advocates in high school, right? And so when I hear this, and it's all these years later, and it's still, these symptoms are still the same, what the victims look like, you still can't pinpoint what that looks like, right? Like all of these things are still the same. And I'm thinking like, gosh, that was 1996, 1997, right in there. And this is still going on. It's still an issue. You still have police who don't believe you right off rip. I mean, there's so many things that my mind is just taking in, like, oh my gosh, like I can't even, it's so much. So in terms of legislation, and I mean, we can talk about this more offline on another day, because I know we're getting at the like an hour and a half mark, but are there things in place currently in terms of legislation, in terms of at the state level that you're aware of anyway, uh, as it pertains to just protections in place for women or men who are dealing with abusive relationships like this?
The one thing that I know was on the docket. I'm not sure. I think something was signed. I'm not sure if it was signed uh, when the date was, but it was basically. So basically, what happened is I had to stop, drop, and roll. I sold my house.
Hmm.
I moved. I'm talking. This is the house me and my husband here for 13 years. Like I gotta leave. I don't want this dude to ever find me.
Mm-hmm.
He probably got family and friends that could find me. In the process of doing that, right, you have to register your address to an address when it comes to the state, especially when it comes to like registration in cars and stuff. So I couldn't really not register my address. So the legislation basically is allowing victims of domestic violence to actually be able to use a PO box.
Okay.
Their address, right? Because I think
good.
it has that, which is nice, but it's still in effect, so I can't use it, right? So I didn't know the specifics of it. I had to be tricky and do some things to make it work for me, but it's not in place just yet. But that was something that was definitely very helpful. I think the girl's name is Nicole, who was on the board to doing that, and she started another nonprofit dealing with domestic violence as well. And there's a lot of small organizations around the state.
Yeah.
A few people call me or kind of contact my organization. And it's limited as far as having somewhere for you to go. My goal is to eventually get a shelter, right?
Yeah.
Something that would be nice, definitely in an undisclosed place, but beautiful,
Yep.
welcoming. You can't only take so many people, right? But it's like just something where we can kind of wean you in, kind of get you in, get you out. But the goal would be to kind of have something like that, and we don't have that. And I mean, we have a lot of little places. So I've had people call me, and that's just nowhere for them to go. We provided like gas cards and gift cards to kind of get you to some places, and we've made food baskets. My team has actually, we have like care packages to help you get away, where we've got like PPE stuff in it, and it's kind of ready to go. But it's like, how do you get that stuff to people? And everybody's definitely going to be something different. Someone's got 5 kids, somebody's got 2, somebody has no kids, just needs somewhere else to go. So our goal is to try to keep connecting with these other nonprofit organizations to make that we can kind of stay in the loop. So October is National Domestic Violence Month, Awareness Month, and I think it's October 1st. There's a rally in Lansing at the Capitol.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay.
That they do every year, and it's nice because it'll just be different victims will come out and speak, but all of the resources in Michigan kind of come out. Like it's a whole lot of different.
Okay, good. Yeah.
We kind of try to connect. So if you know of anybody, or if you are a survivor or know somebody trying to survive it, make sure you come out to that event. There's definitely a lot of helpful things that will be able to help you get away or help a victim get away.
Do you take what is it? What am I trying to say? Take Back the Night. Do you do anything with that? I know that's slightly different, but do you do anything with that?
What do you mean? That's an organization?
It is an organization. Yeah. So yeah. So
Survivors of sexual assault. But
Take Back the Night. It's survivors of sexual assault, but often there's that crossover there, right? And so there's a lot of what you find are a lot of domestic abuse victims who are part of that as well, and they do that every year as well. Okay. Events all over.
I'm gonna have to leave that.
Go ahead, Shanta.
For me, just a few points that I want to just throw out there for people. And Deodge kind of alluded to this earlier, but in the clinical field, we say document, document, document. If you didn't document, it didn't happen. So if you don't go to that first immediately to file that police report, make sure you are collecting evidence, right? Okay. And then
hold on. Let me add to that or ask a question. So make sure you're collecting evidence. And so what we discovered with Deodge's situation, it was such a calculated way that she needed to do that, right? Because of the way our iPhones are set up and all this stuff. So what are some other, what are some options that may not be in the digital space? Of course, you're documenting, but
text messages are huge. Save text messages, all text messages. Pictures. If there was a sexual encounter, go to the ER right away. This is the one thing that I would definitely do different is I would have went to the police. As soon as he would have left my site, I should have went straight to the police department. Like, this dude hurt me. And being the good girl, I guess, I didn't want him to go to prison. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want him to go to prison because I'm about to go back up here. He's about to go to prison, right? Not thinking, that's not something to worry at this moment, right? You should have. If I could do it over, I would have just, let me go to the police department and tell them exactly what happened to me. Let me make sure I'm writing all this down. Because even in cases, you guys, where women have documented, and they've got PPO orders, these men still come and kill them. So it still happens. It's not even like that is going to necessarily save you.
Right.
Better to have it. You know what I'm saying? The only thing that really is going to save you is to get away and break away from that energy. You can't even be tied in. Like, and I feel bad for people who have children with them because systems don't even work in the women's favor in the children's. I've had people that they got to share parenting time with these abusers. And so it's times where you can't really leave them and they're still stalking you. Laws don't protect the victim. They just don't protect them.
Val made a huge point here. I like the send things to your email with a note in the subject line. I like that. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
Another clever way. Thank you, Val. But we kind of hit on these little red flags throughout, but that excessive time management, isolating you from your family and friends, blaming you, accusing, very jealous, like, oh, you're seeing somebody else, or you're you're dating these people, or when things aren't there, they don't accept responsibility, right? It's F the police. It was their fault that I got locked up, not what you did. And then trying to change a person. And these are just a few things, right? But Deodge is very active in the church. He's trying to stop her from that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is who I was before I met you, and you knew that when you met me, but now that's not. So these are just things to look for. And while you were talking, you were like, what's your scripture? Everybody doesn't have a scripture per se, but the one that came to my mind was Joshua 29:11, because you said, I know there must be a plan. And, I talked to, people about, I know the plans I have for you, to prosper you. And not that it was necessarily, but to give you a platform so that people could see that it doesn't always look a certain way. And it's like, if it could happen to her, hold up. It's like, it could happen to anybody. So we want to be aware, and yes, don't judge, help, right? We want to say, okay, when you text me and you tell me this is what's going on, okay, you got your prayer warriors. I'm going to be the one, like, I'm going to get bail together.
Right.
I'm going to be real, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, we're going to
real talk. I'm going to be like, do I need to pull up? Because I'm certified. I got a license now.
I got bail for her. We're going to get you a bag. It's still a plan. We all triangulate. We're going to work it out, okay?
Crazy, right? But then God, and in the moments, though, y'all, I'm remembering scripture of, you don't have to do nothing to your enemy. Vengeance is mine. Because even when, I'm going to tell y'all, even when it was like this process of going to court, so all this stuff happened in 2018. I didn't finish court till 2019, December-ish, right?
Yeah.
And when everything finished, I felt so defeated. I did not like the court process. I did not like his attorney, the question she was. I mean, I looked like a horrible person on the stand. They ripped me apart. And it was
what was the reasonable doubt? I'm just curious, like,
the biggest thing was, it was really my word against his, because nobody saw it happen. How can I prove that he did it? She obscured his attorney obscured my picture. She like changed the fading. Because we had so let me just say this. The courtroom is a game. And the legal system is a game. It has nothing to do with, oh my God, you're wrong, you're right. It's who can win the game.
Right.
And she won it. She did. She did her thing. He paid good money to that attorney, and she did what she was supposed to do. So I'm leaving that. I'll leave it there. But the biggest thing is, I remembered at the end, I felt defeated. I felt like I did everything you asked me. I told him, walked away. I did all this, God. I went to court. I mean, I did all this. And at the end of the day, he walks on everything. And I remember, so I have a prayer board in my room, and I write all of my dedicated, well, I shouldn't say that. Anything, if you called it was like my mama in the hospital sick, I'm going to put it on there, your name, the name, on my prayer board. And I pray over that prayer board. That's my fervent prayer board, right? So, of course, in this case, I have been, praying to God, like, oh my God, make sure that he gets guilty of these charges and blah, blah, blah. I'm doing all this stuff. And I literally was about to take the prayer off the prayer board, right? Like, and God, like, it was almost like, you really gonna take a prayer off of a prayer board? Like, God didn't answer a prayer. And I was like, ooh, let me leave that alone, right? Let me leave that. So when I did that, it pinched me a little bit, because it wasn't quite over. We still had to go parole board thing. So he ended up still doing time for just aggressive behavior, right? We had him on video come into my office after I had escaped and got away. But he came to my office at a time he shouldn't have been there with his work clothes on, and you could see how aggressive he was. And so that's probably what actually got him in trouble. They couldn't even put that video in the real trial because of the detective that had recorded it wasn't a witness, so you couldn't use his girl. They had all kind of stuff that they had that worked out in their favor. Anyway, after all that was over, I just felt God's like soft hand tap me, y'all. It was one day I really felt defeated. I was like, oh my God, I got to figure out how I'm going to tell my kids who walked on all this stuff. They about to be scared and all this, right? And God tapped me and said that I bless you. And I said, I got away safe. My kids never got hurt. Nobody hurt him. And if, at this point has not done this to anybody else, you absolutely did.
Mm-hmm.
From day one prayer to today, you definitely answered my prayer. It didn't look like I thought it was supposed to,
Right.
but you handled it. And I'm telling you, I, I, my faith level is definitely heightened. I'm not saying that I'm not going to go through things. I think, you know, bigger levels, bigger devils. I get it. But I stand firm on the word. I do. And I'm spiritual. I know
Mm-hmm.
everybody don't have the same faith, but I'm telling you, without my faith, I don't think I would be standing here. I'm just telling
Mm-hmm.
you.
Um, a couple of things as we wrap up. So, just and these are just questions I was curious about. So he's out. You said right now. So he's out, like out. Okay. Did you ever get a restraining order or anything like that against him? Is that something that you would recommend?
Absolutely. Immediately after he was acquitted of his charges, I did go get a PPO order against
Okay.
him,
Good.
and renewed it twice. Did not renew it a third time, because I didn't have a leg to stand on to renew it.
Mm,
And I, in my mind, you know, and this is stuff that you're just learning as you go, because I don't know
sure.
nothing about a PPO and why and
Right.
how they work. But initially, of course, it's just like, please don't get out trying to come touch me or get, you know, do
Mm,
anything to me.
mm-hmm.
He ended up doing 2 years, so I did renew it when he was still in there because I didn't know when he was getting out. But then when he got out, close to the time of him getting out, it was like, okay, well, he was out. He was out, and I had to renew it. I think it would have been in March this year.
Okay.
And I had a great friend, and she was going to help me. I had to serve papers and all kind of stuff. And at this point, you guys hadn't really had contact with him, and was having the hardest time trying to figure out how to get him served.
Mm,
The scriptures and stuff that I had been reading have been be the source of peace and not chaos, right?
mm,
And realize that at this stage of the game, I don't need the PPO. He has not reached out to me, has not tried to contact. I had blocked every number and anything anyway, but was like, if he did present himself again, I know what I have to do, you know, but at this point, leave it alone because I'm about to open up a can of worms that I'm not willing to deal with. And God
mm.
forbid that I get in front of a Zoom meeting with him and I don't want to see him, you know, I don't want
Right.
to get a Zoom meeting and he get off again. Like, no,
Right.
and I know that I don't need it. So it was really interesting because the attorney who helped me through that process was we like kind of talked about it and had fasted and prayed a little. And the biggest thing was I think I'm gonna let that go because she was working.
Mm,
I didn't even know how to get him served. I'm like I don't even know where he's staying no more. Like I don't. I gotta dig all of this information up and figure out where he's at.
okay.
I don't want to do that, you know. But the key was just at some point you're not going to be able to get a restraining order if they haven't done anything to you because the judge is
Mm,
not going to approve. Like, well, what do you need it for? And I
mm,
just have it forever because I'm scared for my life. But you can't because I guess it causes restrictions. If there's a restraining order against you, there's things that you can't do legally, and I didn't know that. So
okay.
you can't just have a restraining order on people.
Okay. And then my last question, if you have some listeners who are watching, did you go to a support group? Are there support groups that are available for this? Shanta, you can speak to this as well. In terms of just, those who have survived, survivors, right? And just being able to move beyond. So obviously you've got this great faith, you've got this strength, it's unshakable, it's unmovable. A lot of that was there, basically like I guess grown for lack of a better phrase, from the last tragedy that you endured, right? And so there may be people watching though who don't have that, right? And I know you said you wouldn't know where you would be without, your faith, and that's fair, right? But for those who just really don't know, and maybe they don't know what resources to grasp at, and maybe they don't have this solid faith backdrop, in terms of support groups or something that can help kind of get them to transition out of, okay, like, all right, I'm out of the danger zone, but now I got to deal with how do I sort of reacclimate to life and society in a way that is healthy. What kinds of resources are there for that you know of?
So for me personally, I don't like when it comes to safe house. I have the 800 numbers to the 800 number people. I don't have good connectors yet
Okay.
because I'm very
Okay.
early in my nonprofit. So I
Okay.
don't have. My biggest thing is always if you don't have nothing else, call the 800 domestic violence hotline
Okay.
just because, right? And that is an amazing start because they should have resources that are close to you because this hotline covers the whole country. So it's like, depending on where
Mm-hmm.
you're at, it's going to give you different resources.
Mm-hmm.
I personally can't just run down the list of the ones that you can have. There are probably over 50 in the state of Michigan, and it's a lot of little people. And the problem with them is, and even with me trying to connect with them, is we're trying to protect victims. So I can't give you a whole lot of information on where I'm at because I don't know if you're trying to come hurt somebody, right?
Right,
Like,
right.
so you almost have to be intertwined, which is things like the rallies, and if you know of any domestic violence things happening, show face, and that way you can actually meet people and exchange numbers so that you can contact on the back end. Because if you're googling like everybody else would Google, you're not going to get through.
No.
Okay.
So to Deodge's point, yes, they are hard to find for that specific reason because they are trying to protect women and families. So United Way 211, and you can dial 211 in any state, city, and be connected to those resources. 211, you let them know what you need. They can help you with food, housing, whatever it is, let them know, and they can direct you to the resources that are in your area. So it's, very localized. But there are a lot of organizations. They may be small organizations, but they move in mighty ways, and it's just connecting them all to one another. And like Deodge said, putting your face out there will really help. But, you just got to get out there for those efforts, because we do want to protect. I remember I used to drive past one like every day in my old neighborhood, and I didn't know it until I worked for another shelter. I worked for a youth shelter.
Okay.
And then it was like, oh, and I was like, but wait, I drive every day. Like, oh, okay. And then where you can divert your resources and put where you can put your support behind.
It's good.
But yeah,
it's good. That's what we got. Thank you, guys. Thank you for all of this. This was so much. Like I'm this is weighty, and I'm still just like, wow, like taking it in.
It feels released for me. Whew.
Yeah, and like we said in the last episode last week, the more you share, the more healing you have, right? And so I'm glad that you were so open and so transparent with us about something so just personal and critical and vulnerable and all of these things. I believe that what comes from the heart reaches the heart, and you've been incredibly just open and sharing, and so we just thank you for the time and your strength and all of these things.
I'm honored to be a vessel. And if anybody want to contact me, you can contact me. I'm not funny acting. If you got somebody that needs something, please contact me. If you want to exercise with me, somebody said they were exciting that I was an exercise person. If you're trying to lose weight, I'm all about it. So let me know. I got you, right? So, and if you're having trouble getting back with connecting with God, that type of thing, I'm all for it with you. So just contact me. If it's domestic violence, if you need a family practice, I got all of that.
She's got all the things, guys. She really does.
Yes. If you're trying to go to college and need a scholarship, I got Ph1LL. Look, just listen. I got you.
Yep. And we'll highlight some of the other organizations again. Like we just, we just really hit this. I wanted to kind of highlight the others, but time is what it is. Guys, thank you, Shanta. Definitely.
Thanks, Rajette, for doing this. Thanks for having me.
Yes,
thanks for having me and thinking that story meant something, because I don't mind.
It's powerful.
It is very powerful. You're one of very few people I know who have this much in their story at our age, I guess. Right. So very, very powerful. To the viewing audience, thank you so much for just showing up. And I want you guys to share this. I know it's long. Look, people will watch it if they feel like watching it. I just believe God, will send it where it needs to go. And I don't really do a whole lot of marketing in these things these days. There will be a time, but I'm not real pressed on that. It's just the content needs to go out, and who needs to hear it will see it when they need to see it. So thank you guys for showing up, being engaging in the comments and stuff. It's been great. So God bless you all. And we're going to go ahead and say bye and stay on for a couple seconds, guys. All right. All right. You guys take care. Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you next week. We have a young reader who has his own podcast. He's a Gen Z. He is 11, and I'm really excited about what he's going to be talking about next week. So stay tuned again because we've got some cool stuff coming up in the furtherance of our episodes. All right, y'all have a good night. We're going to end right now. Take care.
Bye.
Yeah.